The race for 5G is on, with the promise of optimizing the world as we know it, and your customers can't afford to be left behind. With a rollout of this scale, and with continuously rising energy costs, the stakes to grow the right way have never been higher. So you need a competent partner, capable of delivering the data center solution you need at scale. As a leading supplier to the telecom industry, Delta now brings you the Zubus Data Center Solution. Produced at our factories in Europe, the Zubus data centers come fully equipped with our super efficient UPS, as well as our other industry-leading hardware. With our smart airlock system, your data center environment is protected from air pollution. Our smart and robust steel barrier allows our cooling system to come ready installed, ensuring safe transportation, quick deployment, and immediate use. Zubus data centers are easily adaptable for integration of renewable and green technologies, and we have the know-how. With Delta as your trusted partner, you will rapidly scale your network and deliver on the promise of 5G, creating a greener tomorrow.
Vegetable supplies were significantly impacted due to climate, labor, logistical constraints, as well as demand worldwide. To meet the demands for food sustainability and ease unexpected stresses on food systems, Delta Vertical Farming Solution focuses on producing a stable, constant supply of high-quality vegetables. The growing of vegetables in vertically stacked layers has made farming smart and automated, thus increasing output and ensuring the quality of the harvest. Assembled layer by layer, the farm takes a vertical direction when it comes to establishing a layout and has the flexibility to expand the production scale with the modular system. With the automatic tray transfer system, it reduces the labor intensiveness and lessens the occupational hazards associated with traditional farming. Room temperature, humidity, air composition, and wind force can be controlled and monitored all year round. Nutrients are formulated to meet the optimum plant growth for different vegetables. Our patented flood table allows nutrient-enriched water to flow directly to the roots, maintaining healthy oxygen levels, and then is continually circulated for up to 6 months. Adjustments can be made to the lighting distance as vegetables grow to avoid light loss. Light spectrum and intensity can be configured to meet the needs of different plant types and growth stages. Planting methods can be enhanced through data collection and analytics, research and development. To date, Delta Vertical Farm has the capability to grow more than 45 varieties of vegetables and herbs. A 35-day fully grown lettuce can weigh up to 100 grams, compared to other vertical farms of 60 grams on average. As the crops are grown in a well-controlled indoor environment, the vegetables are pesticide-free. Through various production management, the taste of vegetables can be adjusted to ensure quality produce. Low exposure to
Company Limited. I would like to welcome all of you to the 5th Annual Delta Future Industry Summit. My name is Veena Ratlauha Phakakul, and I feel very honored to be your MC today. Now, as a global provider of power and thermal management solutions, Delta is pioneering smart green energy solutions for industry and cities in Thailand and Southeast Asia. Now, this year, our summit theme is Realizing a Smart Low-Carbon Society in Southeast Asia. For the first time, the Delta Summit is welcoming our friends and partners from the government, industry, and academia across Southeast Asia. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you. And we really look forward to discussing the latest developments and exciting technologies for green innovation in our region. Some of the solutions our expert speakers will cover include ESG and sustainable policies and strategies, e-mobility and smart grid infrastructure, and green data center solutions. We also welcome you, our valued partners, to share your opinions in our live polls, Q&A, and survey. On your badge, you would have the QR code. So you would get the agenda for today's discussion as well as the survey. And also, if you have any questions, you can type them in as well when we have our panel discussions, okay? So please enjoy today's discussions and networking opportunities with Delta's friends from the Ministry of Industry, EV and e-mobility, as well as data center infrastructure sectors. Now, since for this year, there are a lot of foreign guests to the Delta Summit, that's why we choose this venue as the venue, because we want you to enjoy Bangkok as well. It's easy for you to enjoy all the leisure activities later on, for the dining, for the shopping, and of course, this is very near to the underground and the SkyTrain as well. Easy for you to commute, okay? And I would also encourage everyone to enjoy the exhibition outside, especially the claw machine. I don't think the jackpot, anybody here, you guys tried that? I don't think the jackpot is out there yet. You might win some Delta shares with the claw machine. I'm just kidding, okay? I'm just kidding. Mr. Jackie's like, what? Okay, so let's start our event today. I would like to invite Mr. Jackie Chang, President of Delta Electronics Thailand, to share with us Delta's strategy and actions in Thailand to reach RE100 targets and goals for net zero. Ladies and gentlemen, please warmly welcome Mr. Jackie Chang.
Changing. Okay. Okay. Sawadee krap. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jackie Chang, President of the Delta Electronics Thailand Public Company Limited. And good morning, everyone. And on behalf of the Delta Electronics Thailand, and also Southeast Asia regions, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Natapong Rangsipong, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Industry, to join us to take in the time and also to share the latest direction from the Thailand government. And I also want to thank Mr. Kavik Kumar from the Microsoft, and also taking sustainability and the policy lead, to our distinguished panel list, guest speakers, and the media's friends, and also some of the old friends and new friends, to join us and to talk about the Delta's Future Industrial Summit 2023. And this year we have expanded the scope of our annual summit from Thailand, also home base here, to broaden to the Southeast Asia. And we invite the guest speakers from Singapore, and also especially to share with us about their sustainability development and also the future on the data center as well. So this could be helping for the greener economy in the long run. And we also choosing the theme as realizing a smart, low-carbon society in the Southeast Asia. And because we believe now is about the time to really double down on actions and to accelerate our activities on the electrification, digitalizations, and also the green energy solutions for a sustainable economic development. In 2023, we have reached a new stage of the climate crisis. And as a wildfire range across the southern Europe and the North Africa, I think it's the July this year has been classified as the global boiling month of the whole year. So I think it's the climate change is really impacting to us quite a lot. And this kind of things is continuously could bring the tragic to the whole planet as well. So it's clear we must to take some actions and to make sure on the climate side of the changing and the impact could be reduced to the minimum, and the government and also all the private and public sectors, we should also join together to make the whole things to the impact to our planet. And I believe we could have a lot of things we could work on and take actions together. Of course, it's toward to the net zero goal is also, I believe, is one of everyone's intention. And the recently published report, the global warming has bring us to the high risk about the El Nino, and this could be severely impact to the geography, especially in the Southeast Asia. And that part of it is actually will impact to us on the poor or lost the harvest, which will push up food inflations and hit the rural household income as well. And the warmer weather has also pushed up the power demand, while it lies in the last environmental part of it, we're getting more and more issues, and on the rainfalls and also the hydropower resources as well. So from our point of view, it's very important we will also need to try to reduce the energy consumption and also reduce what we thinking on the CO2 emission as well. So I think that recently our country in Taiwan has also encountered some sort of the severe impact, and the semiconductor might have also impact because of the El Nino situation. And consequently, I think this might have the impact to the GDP because of the harvest agriculture will also having the serious issue. Then fishery is also in the same time will get some impact. So in 2022, there's a data also showing to us there's a lot of the contribution from the industrial process and the industrial combustions, and also the buildings contribute more than 34% of the global emissions. So from this data, I believe most of us could have the good efforts to make the whole things much more easier and to make sure we are having the better progress and result together with the good actions in mind. So we could also construct install some energy efficiency data centers and transition the renewable energies to our operations. And as a corporations, we think it's important. Maybe what we should do is, among all of us, we could try to set some goals to reach to the net zero goals. And this is also important. Then we could follow by doing some sort of practice, and that to see how it could be realized and achieved. And in the meantime, we also could minimize our carbon footprint as well. And we could also develop some of the solution mindset across our own operations and try to experiment about that as well. And that empower in our actions on the individuals and the companies. Oh, okay, it reminds me I only have 3 minutes left. So today I think at Delta we are heading towards the net zero future, and we like to give you some sort of idea how do we achieve this sort of the area. So maybe we could share some experience later as well. I need to speed up, I still have 8 pages. So you see, as a company, we really need to have in some sort of the innovative way to make it the whole things better. And Delta, we are having our corporate mission to provide innovative, clean, and energy efficiency solution for a better tomorrow. And this is from our corporate missions, which is evolved to our business strategy and also our ESG development as well. And our commitment to our mission and to make sure we have steady growth and also good business progress as well. And I'm happy to share with you from before the COVID 2019, we continue to develop our own strategy. And now in 2023, up to 2022, the revenue from Delta Electronics Thailand doubled. From 1.6 billion last year, we achieved 3.3 billion US dollars. So early on, Delta also recognized the importance of the global initiatives to reach our sustainable development. So the globally Delta operation is committed to reach 100% RE100. And so far, I think we are at the 63% level. And by 2025, we want to reach up to 80%. So this is the really important factor for us to make sure we are having our contribution to the society. And then also, we are a pioneer in our regions in terms of the green product and also production operations. So our forward-looking strategies and the directions, we also committed to developing quite a lot of different steps, since the 2015 committed for the win-win business. And then further on the using the past SBTI, science-based technology, and on the validations as well. Then we also, 2018, committed to EV100, and the 2021 committed to RE100. So all these is, target and goal setting is actually helping us to have this sort of important milestone to further developing on that. So by doing so, we also accumulate over 2 decades of the experience, and so we're taking quite proactive actions as well. So we set our roadmap for RE100 in Thailand, and basically you might see why it's a little bit slower compared with the Delta global operation. We are actually working with the industrial partners and also government to try to bring this speed much faster. Of course, as you see, there's a lot of actions we could take, no matter from the solar power generation, installation, IRAC, or even talking about the TPA, PPA kind of the actions. So there's some of the mechanism we want to make sure it's more easier for us and the private sector to work together with the government side of it. Of course, we also provide some of energy saving product as well. So basically, we also making quite some sort of connections and with some government and also private sectors in terms of the power generation. So you could see that from the chart clearly. So we want to get into the, no matter from the BOI and also from the different partners from the government side of it, no matter EGATE or our private sector like SCG, Big Green, and also MEA, PEA. We want to make sure these are all in a sort of direction to helping the private sectors into the RE100 goal much easier. And because we noticed that Thailand is also having more and more investment from overseas, and that part of it is also one of the things is our customer internationally, they would expect from us to reach to that direction quickly. So that part, we think, is with the collaboration with all the different partners will help very much. And additionally, Delta also enforced one of the most aggressive internal carbon tax. Yes, you didn't hear wrongly. We have our internal carbon tax. So if we have the CO2 emission 1 ton, we need to be penalized for $300 for that, which is higher than the EU regulations as well. And why we are doing so, and I think it's we want to take that as a pool of the fund. So that means that internally, which department, which functions they think they could have energy saving project, they could seek for the fund and fund them for the further development. And what we think is this is very important. I think we are considering even adjust the number higher, not only $300. So we need to be very carefully about the energy consumption, what we have, if it's not from the renewable energy source. So this is also some of the tips we could share with all the different participants and the panel here today. And also internationally, Delta Group has a member of the Dow Jones Sustainability, and same since the 2011. So we are also in Thailand, we get the award on the Dow Jones Sustainability on the World Index as well. And we participate very closely with the Carbon Disclosure Program, CDP, and to engage leaders for our work to engage our suppliers through the supply chain as well. So Delta is not only a company just talk about, we're actually doing it. So you see here we have already achieved 32 buildings of the green building. Yes, we building the green building to save the energy, having the recycled material, reuse of the material, and we also achieve a 26% of the global energy related emissions. Internally, we are helping the whole things to make it much better and faster. So in the meantime, that's why since 2022, we are established all these green buildings, and we have 2 certified green data center as well in Thailand. And our head office is also the LEED certificate and gold certificate of green building. So basically, it's apparent that Delta sees the energy efficient and the green buildings as a pillar and to the low carbon society. So there are many areas of the actions we could do and could save the energy around the whole building environment as well. So far, Delta has been saving about 35.9 billion kilowatt, and the carbon emission reduction of close to 19 million tons CO2 emission. So what's the next step to build in the low carbon society? And Delta, we are beyond the RE100. We are also aspire to realize the net zero operation as well. So this is the net zero showroom we built in Amata Industrial Estate, and this was opening in 2022. And in the meantime, the showroom also gets all the power from the solar, and also have the energy storage as well. So fully equipped for the 24 hours operation, 7 days a week. And so you're welcome to scan the QR code to see the virtual tour and to understand what we have. And of course, as this container showroom is also shows the net zero could be achieved without any delay. And then today's technology could offer the good quality of life. And in here, there's a smart buildings, and also with the control on the lighting, on the CO2 emissions and air qualities. And in the meantime, we are also using the Delta facial recognition for the security control, access control, and providing the air pollutions, filtering the bad air from the indoor. And at the heart of the showroom, we also have our scalable and the expandable modularized data center solution. So we welcome all our visitors here, and they could go to have a look, and feel free to let us know. We could organize a site visit for you. So finally, I thank you once again for attending the Delta Future Industrial Summit 2023 to discuss this timely subject, realizing a smart, low-carbon society in Southeast Asia. And I hope the experience of the Delta's journey will be really informative and inspiring to you all. And most of all, I hope you can also take this opportunity to make new friends and also create new connections, and together we could create a better, smarter, and greener life for our future. And please enjoy your time today. And at this event, there's our showroom outside, and you could also see what are the latest solutions we could provide. And thank you very much. Kopumakap, Sawadee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jackie Zhang. So next, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Mr. Natapon Rangsitpon, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Industry, to give us the latest update on the government's ongoing journey to low-carbon society while powering the country's growth according to Thailand 4.0 plan. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Natapon Rangsitpon.
Mr. Jackie Chang, the President of Delta Electronics Thailand, honorable guests, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Ministry of Industry, I am honored to be here and delivering an opening speech today's event at the Delta Future Industry Summit 2023, Realizing a Smart Low-Carbon Society in Southeast Asia. It is a great opportunity to have a large number of innovation leaders and decision makers coming from all across Southeast Asia joining the summit this year. I am obliged to Delta for hosting this forum to provide such a great opportunity to discuss how we can all move forward to establish prosperous and healthy low-carbon society in the region. In recent years, global climate has become one of the most urgent threats that we must pay attention to. To emphasize Thailand's commitment in solving the climate crisis, at the UN Climate Conference in Glasgow, or COP26, Thailand committed to achieving the long-term goal of carbon neutrality by 2050 and net zero by 2065. The country has pledged to enhance its greenhouse gases emission reduction by 30 to 40% in 2030. To achieve this goal, multi-dimensional support from every stakeholder are crucial. Aligning with our today's topics, just transition to low-carbon society. Based on the available data between 2000 and 2019, Thailand's greenhouse emission by sector gradually increased, with an average increase of 2.21%. Specifically in 2019, we found that the majority of greenhouse gases come from the energy sector, which account for nearly 70% of the emission in the entire country, followed by agricultural sector, the individual process and product use sector, and the waste sector, respectively. The effort of climate change is more apparent in recent UN has already announced the era of global boiling this year. To mitigate this negative effect, all of us need to make immediate and effective efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, Ministry of Industry or mine, we have truly realized the significance of this matter. We therefore promote the industry to be worthy industries that must sustainably coexist with the community. Mine has taken steps to urgently transform the industry sector, aiming to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and finally changing over to low-carbon society. We have run a number of projects to drive Thailand towards low-carbon society, include decarbonized loan, which is a mechanism for granting loan to reduce global warming and develop sustainable businesses. The Green Industry Assessment, or GI, is an initiative aiming to seek private sector participants in transforming their productions and business into greener process. Delta has achieved GI awards in 2017, which show Delta's ambition to be an environmental friendly business aligning with Thailand and global trend of the greener future. Other efforts include zero waste to landfill project and the end of life management of products to target the appropriately managed industrial waste and less effect to damage the earth. Mine also play a key role in energy transition by enhancing energy efficiency, increasing share of renewable energy, and shifting transportation model through domestic EV productions. The country targets the EV production would be to account for 30% of domestic car production in 2030, or what is known as 30 at 30. It should support the reduction of greenhouse emission in the energy and transportation sector in the country. Thailand promotes EV through a variety of measures to encourage the use and productions of EVs, such as the EV program of 3.0, which provide incentive for the EV production in the country. The success of this program also influenced the participation in EV 3.5 program, aiming to promote EV industry even further. The next one is the execution of mandatory emission standard, or Euro 5 or Euro 6, at the beginning of next year. Newly manufactured vehicle must comply with the mandatory Euro 5 emission standards. I strongly believe that the upgrading standard will also significantly reduce the greenhouse emission in overall pollution. Nowadays, MIND has also run many projects to support the RE100 initiative, a global commitment to 100 renewable electricity. The establishment of cooperation in waste to energy through the MOU between MIND and Ministry of Energy. We will work together to promote business to convert municipal and industrial solid waste into electricity or heat for the industry and direct heating systems. Although global climate change continues to be one of the biggest challenges to all of us, this seminar exhibits intention to drive Thai industry toward low carbon society. I would like to assure you that Thailand transforming to greener future with the full of investment opportunity for the investor to explore. The transition to low carbon economy is clearly benefit the environment and the people, while offering industrial opportunity, thus achieving the goal of climate action target and ultimately establish Thailand as a low carbon nation. We must persist in making great effort to overcome all challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, to solve the climate change issue, we must build a stronger and deeper cooperation network. Today, I am very pleased to see an explicit intention among all partners and stakeholders to create a more successful low carbon society for the region together. Once again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Delta and all Delta's partners, supporting Thailand in achieving greenhouse gas emission reduction target. Last but not least, I wish the annual summit a great success and hope this summit will bring the ultimate outcome to all honorable participants and sharing value, knowledge and experience for the sustainable future through the greener transition in this region, smarter and greener together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Natapon. Please remain on stage. And I'd like to invite Mr. Jackie Chan to please come on stage once again to present Mr. Natapon with a small token of appreciation. Please remain on stage. Kun Natapon and Mr. Jackie, please remain on stage. May now invite all speakers and panelists to please come on stage for a group photo. Basically everyone, all panelists, all speakers, please. Thank you for a group photo. And please smile. Thank you. I thank you all. Thank you very much. So we are off to a good start today, learning about both Delta and Thailand's visions and actions to work towards a low-carbon society. Before we move on to our next speaker, I would like to ask everyone to participate in our first poll. So let's take a look at the question. You can scan the QR code here on stage or on your badge. There's a QR code on your badge as well. Let's just try and see what everyone here thinks, okay, about the question. And the question is, which sector do you think most urgently requires sustainable solutions for a low-carbon society? Which sector? Data center, e-mobility, factory, community. So which sector do you think most urgently requires sustainable solutions? There's no choice of all of the above, but okay, pick one. Which sector? Factory. Okay, data centers coming up. It's still factory, e-mobility, not community, factory. Okay. Oh, I guess it's factory. Is that your answer? Factory. Okay, factory. Well, I guess the majority would be factory then, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be listening to our first speaker and then see if you actually change your mind or we still stick with factory. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Mr. Kavikumar Muruganathan, Sustainability and Policy Lead at Microsoft APAC. He'll share with us about charting a sustainable future, corporate contributions to low-carbon transformation in Southeast Asia. Please give him a very warm welcome.
Right. Thank you, everyone, and my big thanks to Delta for inviting us today to this, this magnanimous event and conference. I'm very humbled by the hospitality today, and it's good to be back to Bangkok. So interesting, I saw data centers number 2 on the poll, so hopefully after this, maybe it goes to number 1 position, right? So a bit of introduction by myself. I'm based in Singapore, and I support Microsoft's APAC data center operations for the region, right? So today's discussion basically looks at how Microsoft is going about its sustainability journey, what are the challenges that we face in the region, and how we can overcome it as an industry together. So before we start, Microsoft has got its own corporate ambitions as well, right? As every organization, we are also invested in the issue of net zero. But we have taken a step further, and we want to be net negative. And net negativity by 2030, which is about 7 years down the road. And when we look at sustainability, we break it down into 4 core pillars. So we look at the energy vertical, we have water, we've got waste, and we've got land. These pillars are not meant to be siloed in any means. They are meant to be integrated, so a lot of cross-cutting solutions will be applied across these pillars. In terms of water, we hope to be water positive by 2030, zero waste by 2030, and of course, protect more land that we use by 2025. So essentially, all these goals come to fruition in 2030, with the exception of the land pillar coming to fruition in 2025. So this is an overall snapshot of our performance so far. I just want to bring you to this core pillar here first, which is our carbon negative pillar, right? So obviously, we feel that towards decarbonization, we can't apply a one-size-fits-all solution. We need a multitude of solutions. So we clearly believe that power purchasing agreements and, of course, unbundled renewable energy credits are the way to go. We've also recently made a commitment to use or procure what we call credits, right? So carbon credits as one of our levers towards decarbonization, and the credits that we are focused on is removal. So we are very focused on carbon credits that remove CO2 from the atmosphere. So if you have any interest in being part of our carbon removal program, feel free to visit our website and make an application as well. All right. Beyond that, water is also highly material. So when you talk about the data center business, there's a nexus between energy and water, right? So energy to power the data center, water for cooling the data centers. And in APAC, water security is highly challenging, and we feel that we need to positively impact the communities that we construct our data centers around, all right? Waste is also a crucial topic. So when we talk about waste, we just don't look at operational waste, but we also look at the construction and demolition waste that comes out of creating data centers. So what is pioneering and interesting is that we have built what we call circular centers. So circular centers essentially means a platform that enables us to recycle, refurbish, and upsell our hardwares and servers that we use in our data centers, all right? So this gives an overall snapshot of our performance, and we hope that we can make progress towards our ambitions towards 2030. So the gist of today's session is about how we need to work closer, the public and private sector, to enable sustainability to manifest. What we have seen in the region is that regulations are becoming a bit more broader, they're becoming a bit more holistic and more granular. Right? Regulators and stakeholders are not interested in very high-level data that you see in your sustainability report. Today, people want to understand what is the specific footprint of your data center in a specific location. So that's the granularity we are looking at. And of course, there's more integration in how we look at sustainability. All right. In the data center industry, we use PUE as a denominator for measuring the energy efficiency of the data center. But there has been calls for that to be expanded to look more broadly at carbon emissions and even the use of renewable energy. What this means is that the gap between regulation and our operations and design is widening. And if we don't act now, this gap risks being widened further. All right, so it's crucial that the industry starts collaborating amongst each other and across the ecosystem, right? One of the denominators that we always look at is towards the European Union, right? So I'm not sure how much of you follow the developments of the European Union, but the European Union has been a milestone or a frontier of success for regulation setting, but the pace is too fast, right? So over the last couple of years, we've seen the emergence of the EU taxonomy, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, and most recently, we've also seen the issuance of the ESRS in Europe. And all this has implications on our business, right? Even if we are not based in Europe, supply chains extend across Europe and into this region, right? APAC is a huge hub for production of semiconductors and raw materials that power data centers. So we need to be apprised of this regulation. So it's pertinent that we keep abreast of all these regulations, and there will be more to come, and it's crucial that businesses start working very closely with data centers and the ecosystem. So at Microsoft, we adopt a very different approach to how we see regulation being infused in every part of our data center life cycle. All right, so we look at it from an engineering perspective, right? End-to-end engineering, right? Wherever possible, we see how we can reduce emissions. How do we optimize the heating and the cooling aspects of data center? How do we also ensure that we use best-in-class technology to build the data centers for the future? Right? So design and engineering is extremely crucial and is part of the holistic life cycle assessment on how we view data centers. The other aspect is building materials. All right? This is what we call embodied carbon, or rather our Scope 3 emissions. So this is something that many a times gets lost on the radar because we are focused on our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, which is use of renewable energy to power the data centers. But buildings have a lot of embodied carbon within them. Right? So we look at the infrastructure, the concrete that goes into the cement, the data center infrastructure, whether it's of low embodied carbon, are we able to integrate green steel structures that have net zero carbon in them into our data center operations, all right? So material selection is very crucial, and we have a team that is dedicated to looking at cutting edge materials for data centers of the future. Supply chain optimization, very crucial for us because 95% of Microsoft's emission is in scope 3, right? Only 5% is in scope 1 and scope 2. So that bears testament to the challenges that we face in supply chain optimization. How do we work with the ecosystem to enable us to reduce our scope 3 emissions? And if we do that quite successfully, more than half, we should be able to meet our ambitions towards 2030 and 2050. So the longer short is that by 2050, we want to remove all our historical emissions that we have emitted since 1975, the year Microsoft was established. All right, so we need to work with our supply chain. Efficient operations is part and parcel of the business. How do we use technology to make process optimization along the way, right? So our engineering teams are always hard at it, looking to ensure how we can optimize data center rack density. How do we use new data centers to actually enable us to have better PUE levels and indicators? And of course, land, equipment, and energy procurement, right? One of our goals is to meet our energy target towards 2030, which means 100% of the time we want to use carbon-free electricity. Easier said than done, but that involves working with our supply chain. So having our operations run 24/7 with carbon-free electricity, that means there should not be any form of carbon emission emitted along the production line of the energy procurement journey. All right, so how do we work that? And that includes that means working with our suppliers and supply chain very closely to do that. And of course, how do we select land optimally? Land is always a tricky solution, right? Because we compete with land with other industry. We compete with land for agriculture, we compete with land with the communities. So how do we ensure that the land that we use for data center construction actually empowers community? And that means forming partnerships with the community, enable capacity building, building knowledge with the community, and bridging the talent gap and upskilling the community as well. So this is a holistic aspect of how we look at data center lifecycle operations at Microsoft. So how do we need to shift? What do we need to shift the needle, right? Of course, regulation is one of the aspects, but regulation alone cannot be the sole driver, right? Regulation cannot impede innovation. Regulation should not impede collaboration. The other key aspect that we feel is important for APAC is financial support. There should be more private and public capital flowing into green innovation, all right? The biggest challenge for the industry today is de-risking, right? How do we reduce the cost of capital for green technology or green innovation investment, all right? How do we bring in low embodied carbon solutions here, right? Today, if we want to procure low embodied carbon products in this region, one of the things that we find a challenge is that it's highly costly. It's too expensive, and we can't bring it at the level of skill that we want to this region. So it's not on cost, it's not within budget. So how do we bring these prices down? So that's very important, right? So we need financial support. This can be innovative forms of finance. It can be concessionary capital for some of the emerging markets, or it could be mutual private public funds as well. Carbon pricing, all right, that's very crucial. I'm glad that Delta is also on the journey towards carbon pricing. We have internal carbon pricing as well. Not so high as Delta, but a bit more lower, but obviously looking at our scope 3 emissions as well. So companies need to start pricing your carbon emissions, all right? That's where you internalize your externalities, and that appears on your P&L, all right? And that's where you can also dedicate finance to different parts of your operations to innovate and ensure that you decarbonize, right? So pricing, carbon pricing is a very crucial mechanism that we feel will help in our decarbonization journey, and more of the industry needs to adopt this methodology. And lastly, demand generation. As a whole, we need to start signaling the industry, right? If industry does not receive signals from the private or public sector, then that would not result in innovation, right? So one of the examples that we see growing, especially in the US, is with direct air capture, right? Which means capturing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And increasingly with commitment shown by players like Microsoft, AWS, and Google Cloud, the industry is picking up. So we see more interests or investments going into the direct air capture market. So industries play a huge role in this. If you're able to signal demand, that would naturally create an ecosystem on its own, and eventually the rest of it will fall into place, hopefully. So what do we need for APAC, right? So one of the things that we can learn from the EU is the establishment of a climate neutral data center pact, right? This is a very interesting movement that started out in the EU sometime in 2020. So it's a very voluntary movement, but once you're signed up as a signatory, then you're committed to the goals of the pact, all right? So this is governed by the EU. Annually, if you're a signatory to this, you get audited. So for APAC as a region, we do not have this body, but hopefully we can come together to collaboratively among all APAC governments, build something similar to this so that the industry drives forward together. Right now, we do not have a baseline among APAC countries. We struggle to have common standards and methodologies of operation. So what we want is that this sort of principle-based approach, which looks at common thematic issues, so you can see the thematic issues here, reuse and repair of servers, energy efficiency, water conservation, and carbon-free electricity. So these are the goals and premises of the pact. And if you can work on a principle-based consensus, something similar to this pact, then there's hope for the future. So the call here is for industry to come together to collaborate, partner, and hopefully create a baseline that can set the change forward. So this is our wish, our aspiration for the region. Microsoft is obviously very committed to this, and we encourage partners who are keen to come and collaborate and show interest in the formation of such a pact. All right, and lastly, as Kun Jackie mentioned, we need to work together on this, right? Microsoft can't do it alone. Our ambition and vision remains to empower every individual and organization to do better in the world. But this is a broader ecosystem challenge, all right? We need suppliers, we need our stakeholders, we need regulators, we need industry bodies to come together. And we need to do better at collaborating horizontally and vertically as well, all right? So we can't do it all alone. We also, very importantly for APAC, we also need to build skills, all right? One of the biggest challenge in APAC today is the shortage of talent and skills around sustainability and data center sustainability in specific. So we need more collaboration to fill this talent gap. And that is something that Microsoft takes to heart very seriously, and we partner with academic institutions to build the next talent for the future of data center sustainability. So a lot needs to be done. Obviously, time is running short. We are fast heading towards 2030, but if we all put our hearts together, I'm pretty sure that we can, beat this elusive animal called climate change. So with this, I'm very thankful to be here. And of course, happy to take questions at the end of the session later, but thank you very much again for Delta to inviting us today, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation on behalf of Microsoft. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kavit Kumar. Please remain on stage. May I also invite Mr. Jackie Chang to please once again come on stage to give Mr. Kavit Kumar a token of appreciation.
It's 10 hours.
Thank you very much, both Mr. Jackie and Kun Kavit Kumar. So we'll now take a short break, a 15-minute short break, okay? So 10:15, please come back to this room. Hang on, for the press. Mr. Jackie would be giving a special Q&A session at Sukhumvit 1 room at 10:30. So the press, 10:30, Sukhumvit 1 room, the Delta Showcase room, okay? Sukhumvit 1 room, 10:30, special interview with Mr. Jackie. The rest of us, please come back here at 10:15. 10:15, this room, okay? Thank you very much. Enjoy your coffee break.
In our world, new challenges are emerging every day.
Global pandemics, climate change, and rapid urbanization have transformed our lives. We now live in the new normal, so it's reassuring to know that we can always adapt and keep thriving. We can be the change we want to see. At Delta, we innovate and invent to create a better and greener tomorrow. Our solutions boost speed and quality to make the essential goods that protect our health. We are transforming critical infrastructure systems for today's needs and intelligently adapt our core products to new applications to protect our frontline heroes. There are some things that don't change, such as our promise to always keep your power on, to keep you connected to your colleagues and loved ones 24 hours a day around the world. In the new normal, our intelligent and vivid displays will continue to provide you with both security and entertainment in a smart city. We help you harvest clean, renewable energy and efficiently manage power to create the green factories of the future, new career paths, and a more diverse, resilient economy. We are a leading global force, powering the shift to e-mobility by creating the infrastructure that charges your EV car, fulfilling your dream of a new, smart, and connected life that's sustainable and one with nature. Be the change for a better tomorrow. In our world, new challenges are emerging every day. Global pandemics, climate change, and rapid urbanization have transformed our lives. We now live in the new normal, so it's reassuring to know that we can always adapt and keep thriving. We can be the change we want to see. At Delta, we innovate and invent to create a better and cleaner tomorrow. Our solutions boost speed and quality to make the essential goods that protect our health. We are transforming such as our promise to always keep your power on, to keep you connected to your colleagues and loved ones, 24 hours a day around the world. In the new normal, our intelligent and vivid displays will continue to provide you with both security and entertainment in a smart city. We help you harvest clean, renewable energy and efficiently manage power to create the green factories of the future, new career paths, and a more diverse, resilient economy. We are a leading global force, powering the shift to e-mobility by creating the infrastructure that charges your EV car, fulfilling your dream of a new, smart, and connected life that's sustainable and one with nature. Be the change for a better tomorrow.
Center solution you need at scale. As a leading supplier to the telecom industry, Delta now brings you the Zubus Data Center solution. Produced at our factories in Europe, the Zubus Data Centers come fully equipped with our super efficient UPS, as well as our other industry-leading hardware. With our smart airlock system, your data center environment is protected from air pollution. Our smart and robust steel barrier allows our cooling system to come ready installed, ensuring safe transportation, quick deployment, and immediate use. Zubus data centers are easily adaptable for integration of renewable and green technologies, and we have the know-how. With Delta as your trusted partner, you will rapidly scale your network and deliver on the promise of 5G, creating a greener tomorrow.
Logistical constraints, as well as demand worldwide. To meet the demands for food sustainability and ease unexpected stresses on food systems, Delta Vertical Farming Solution focuses on producing a stable, constant supply of high-quality vegetables. The growing of vegetables in vertically stacked layers has made farming smart and automated. composition, and wind force can be controlled and monitored all year round. Nutrients are formulated to meet the optimum plant growth for different vegetables. Our patented flood table allows nutrient-enriched water to flow directly to the roots, maintaining healthy oxygen levels, and then is continually circulated for up to 6 months. Adjustments can be made to the lighting distance as vegetables grow to avoid light loss. Light spectrum and intensity can be configured to meet the needs of different plant types and growth stages. Planting methods can be enhanced through data collection and analytics, research and development. To date, Delta Vertical Farm has the capability to grow more than 45 varieties of vegetables and herbs. A 35-day fully grown lettuce can weigh up to 100 grams, compared to other vertical farms of 60 grams on average. As the crops are grown in a well-controlled indoor environment, the vegetables are pesticide-free. Through various production management, the taste of vegetables can be adjusted to ensure quality produce. Low exposure to bacteria allows vegetables to stay fresh for a longer period of 7 to 10 days. Delta Vertical Farming Solutions, a new choice for stable, high-quality vegetables.
In our world, new challenges are emerging every day. Global pandemics, climate change, and rapid urbanization have transformed our lives. We now live in the new normal, so it's reassuring to know that we can always adapt and keep thriving. We can be the change we want to see. At Delta, we innovate and invent to create a better and cleaner tomorrow. Our solutions boost speed and quality to make the essential goods that protect our health. We are transforming critical infrastructure systems for today's needs and intelligently adapt our core products to new applications to protect our frontline heroes. There are some things that don't change, such as our promise to always be your power, to keep you connected to your colleagues and loved ones, 24 hours a day around the world. In the new normal, our intelligent and vivid displays will continue to provide you with both security and entertainment in a smart city. We help you harvest clean, renewable energy and efficiently manage power to create the green factories of the future, new career paths, and a more diverse, resilient economy. In our world, New challenges are emerging every day. Global pandemics, climate change, and rapid urbanization have transformed our lives. We now live in the new normal.
Let us do a poll. Let us do another poll, okay? You can just scan here, right here on stage, or from your badge as well. And the question is, what do you believe is the most significant driver of the transition to a low carbon grid and e-mobility? Wow, government policies and regulations, consumer demand and behavior, technological advancements, investments in sustainable infrastructure. Oh, wow, okay. This is so clear and obvious, huh? Government policies. Government policies. Let's make it 100%. I'm just kidding, okay? But still, government policies and regulations, that's what everyone think is the most significant driver to transition to a low carbon grid and e-mobility. I think it's very clear, government policies and regulations. Okay, so we'll have our panelists up here. I'll be asking some questions, and then after that, questions from the floor. So again, you can type in your questions as well, okay, for any questions that you might have, okay, through the QR code. So let me, first of all, introduce our speakers on stage. First of all, may I introduce Mr. Throne Hongladarom from Arun Plus, Head of EV Charger Business. Please welcome Mr. Throne. Next is Ms. Jamie Koh, Director of Grab Regional Public Affairs. Next, I would like to invite SP Mobility, Head of Mobility, Mr. Dean Cher. And finally, may I also invite Mr. Kittisak Ngam, Delta Thailand Energy Infrastructure Solutions and Business Director. Sawadee Naka. Sawadee to all of our panelists here. So let's start off with each of the panelists introducing themselves a bit, okay? What the company is doing. I'll give them plenty of time, 30 seconds each, to introduce yourself, okay? Okay, let's start with Kun Throne.
Hi, good morning. My name is Throne Hongladarom. I am head of EV charger business at Arun Plus company. The company we do all of the EV ecosystem for is a PTT subsidiary company.
Thank you very much. Chen Kun Jamie, please.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jamie. I head the Regional Public Affairs and Policy team at Grab. So a bit of context for those of you who are not familiar with Grab. We're a leading super app in Southeast Asia, and the company's mission is to create economic empowerment for those in Southeast Asia. We currently operate in 8 countries in the region, and 1 in 20 people in Southeast Asia use our consumer app. We also have basically different services in mobility, deliveries, financial services, and also enterprise and new initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dean.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Dean. I'm part of SP Group. So SP Group, primarily we are the grid, electricity and gas grid transmission and distributor operator. So over at Mobility, just one slide here. We actually run a public network in Singapore. We're very close to 1,000 points, charging points in Singapore itself. We distinguish ourselves in also having the largest DC charging network. So if you live in Singapore, I hope you are using our business, using our services. The last point to really just bring up is for mobility, we're actually part of sustainable energy solutions. So that encompasses district cooling, solar, mobility, energy efficiency services in buildings as well. So very happy to be here today.
Thank you. Kun Kittisak.
ครับ สวัสดีครับ ขอบคุณครับ My name is Kitty Sachs. I'm coming from Delta Electronics. So my responsible role will be taking care for solar solution energy storage solution and of course EV charging solution ครับขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ That's a very quick introduction. Okay, so I'll just start my first question. Okay, as everyone here knows, electrification and e-mobility is a way to the future, right? So, but what is the most urgent infrastructure or resources that you think we need in order to speed up of these EV adoption? Yeah, what is the infrastructure that you think we really need right now? คุณตรน
I think for the electric vehicle is electricity will be the main infrastructure that very important. And not only the electricity grid, also the number of the electricity, the quality also, and the capacity of the electricity to all the location in the country, not only the household but the commercial area as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. Your idea on this?
Thank you so much. I would like to just give some context. So Grab has a goal to be carbon neutral by 2040, and so we have been making the transition and moving towards low emission vehicles is of course one of the 4 levers we're focusing on. And through that journey, there are 3 areas we've found in terms of, challenges that we need to overcome for the transition. So first of it is affordability. Actually, there was a study by Deloitte, I think back in 2021, that says that EVs cost more than 80% versus an ICE vehicle. And if you look at the predominant users of the vehicles on our platform, the driver partners, delivery partners, they use the vehicle to earn a livelihood. And so for them, the economic viability of whether or not an EV is affordable is important to them. So it's quite critical to be able to address the affordability, economic viability for at least this segment that we're observing to make a choice to shift towards EVs. Second thing is on battery performance. I think you can imagine driver partners, delivery partners are on the road a lot all day. And just to share a stat, in Singapore, we've measured that actually our driver partners drive for 7 times more longer distance versus an average driver. And that probably means you need to recharge, refuel your vehicle a lot more often. And so range anxiety is quite real. And in relation to this, to overcome people's confidence of switching to an EV, you need to improve the battery performance so it can last longer. And in event when they have to take time off to recharge or swap their batteries, how can it be as efficient as possible? Because any time off the road is time lost where they can be earning additional money. And the third and final point is on product fit. I think some people also have taken a ride-hailing car at the airport and you have a lot of luggage from travels and shopping. And so how do you ensure that vehicles have designs that can cater to these unique product needs? Second, also, if you imagine delivery riders delivering groceries uphill to a property uphill, and the motorbike has to have the right torque and power in order to deliver heavy deliveries, right? So these are all elements of unique use cases that people in our ecosystem using the vehicles look out for. And therefore, we need products to be able to cater to those needs for them to have confidence to make the transition. So we've actually been working with different partners and organizations to run pilots, give feedback so that we can overcome these 3 areas. Thank you.
Thank you. More of the user end here, right?
Yes, exactly.
User end here. Okay, let's go to Kundin. What's your take on this?
So, sharing from a Singapore perspective, in terms of the 2 elements in this question, infrastructure and actually resources. So, in terms of energy infrastructure, Singapore itself, we generally don't have a power issue. But there are older public developments where the power upgrade is required. So the government is looking into that. But otherwise, for industrial and commercial properties and areas that we generally operate, we actually have been deploying without that much of a power issue. However, that is the situation today. In terms of EV adoption in Singapore, we are at 1.45% across all sectors in Singapore. So we're not at the level even compared to Thailand, actually, in terms of the EV adoption. So over time, yes, I think energy infrastructure and the upgrades that would come with it would be issues that we're looking into. A good thing that we have is we actually have a smart charging solution as well. So that also looks into addressing some of the power issues. So the second pillar of this question, resources. So in terms of the industry in Singapore, it's all private-led at this point in time. That means the government does not support this area. So we are left to take the risk ourselves. And so a little bit of government support would be great there if you're listening, Singapore. But if not, yes, we'll get the message through at some point. Because in Singapore itself, we also have a very unique situation. We have the most expensive cars in the world. So that also means that the cost of ownership, so Jamie alluded to that a bit, is actually quite important. And how we're going to get even more electric vehicles on the road, and then to collectively save the earth. Because I think as Kun Jackie showed earlier, he had a slide that showed transportation. The statistical slide that showed transportation is 20%. It's the second highest emissions globally. So if we can address this issue, then together with partners like Delta, we are moving towards this RE100 and a net zero objective.
Thank you คุณกิติศักดิ์ค่ะ
ครับขอบคุณครับ I think today you can see from Thai market that our government try to encourage the OEM car to have more production scale and more manufacturing BEV in Thailand. Yeah, but we cannot get clear picture in terms of the EV charging infrastructure. Mostly, this is the one that we would like to emphasize the government that we have to looking for the policy or the supporting scheme to support to make it happen in terms of the EV charging station, the number of that. Mostly right now in Thailand, most of the time we for example, like some of our partner in the private sector, they are going to invest the charging station by themselves without the government support. In this case, it's difficult to close, and the direction of the number of the EV charging station increasing is in the opposite side of the number of the BEV increasing in Thailand, and then we have the problem all the time right now because the population of BEV grows like 3 or 4 times every year right now. I mean, if we can see from the record from now on. The second thing is we have a lot of the mobile application. Yeah, in this case we must have the host, like for example the government that must be have the one single app can work with all of the charging station. For example, right now, if like my brother, they drive the EV charger, BEV car, so they must have 4 or 5 apps. During the weekend, or they would like to go to the up country, they must be have 4 or 5 applications on his mobile phone. So this has become very difficult, right? And the last one is, as long as we have the population of the BEV in the road, it means everybody have to park at their condominium and their house. Does it become another issue because the feeder or the electric infrastructure at that condo or the house is not good enough, or is not supporting except the new house, right? Yeah. So I can foresee this is my idea from 3 items that we have to improve now for Thailand market and Thailand country. Yeah. ขอบคุณครับ
ขอบคุณค่ะ So we're hearing from both the Singaporean perspective and the Thai perspective. I think one common issue is government policies and government assistance, both in Thailand and in Singapore as well, okay? All right, I'll move on to my second question. Just now, Kun Dean actually touched a little bit on it, on how in Singapore, it's the private sector doing the investing, right? You need government help. Yeah, so that leads to the second question. Can the private sector profitably invest in this charging installments and facilities, or do you still need government help to speed up this EV adoption? Let's start with Kuntron.
Yeah, I think at the beginning or early stage, we still need the government support in order to run the charging station visibly. And when I think in the future, when the number of EV car increase, then it can be profitable by themselves. I think it's okay.
Thank you, Jamie.
I think I'd like to echo what everyone talked about. I think government policies and incentives are actually really critical. I think primarily also to set the signal to stakeholders within and outside the country that the country is very serious about changing the industry, changing consumer behavior in the market. And with that, that's when the other stakeholders are then confident enough to come into the picture. So I give an example, obviously in Thailand, just now I think the PERMSEC also shared about how they've been attracting a lot of EV producers in the country. It's been helpful because at Grab as well, we partner with some of these local producers to trial and give feedback on their products, and they can then tailor their products to the unique needs of the users. And it's not going to be easy if, for example, all the cars are imported and you're unable to give inputs on that. And that's triggered because of government policies and incentives. And in turn, more people are using the EVs, and we hope that with that confidence, it helps the charging infrastructure players feel like they can invest because there are going to be people who need the charging stations. And all of this is generated at the start, primarily because of the government direction signaling this positively. And at Grab, I also wanted to share that of course, it's not just the government. You need the private sector to play a role, and the role we play as an ecosystem, almost like a piece of jigsaw, connecting different parts of the ecosystem to make the transition, like you talked about, on the user perspective. So we've been actually running trials, pilots, and rental programs, and we can collect data to give feedback because of the scale we have, and we have been making progress in the 3 areas of challenges we talked about earlier with our partners. So for example, on affordability, actually, just earlier this week in Thailand, we launched 2 financing models to help support partners who want to transition to an EV, but are financially unable to do so previously. For example, one is called a Drive to Own program. Basically, it's a financing scheme for partners who are driving a car, who want to move to an EV car to drive to pick up passengers on the Grab app. Right now, I think it's usually not easy for them to access a loan traditionally because they don't have the traditional credit history, but we've been able to work with partners to then reflect the revenue that they've earned while driving on the Grab app to get access to financial support to pay on a daily basis without upfront down payment to move towards an EV. There's also another example of an end-to-end EV bike rental program that we have. So that's launched in Thailand to address affordability issues. Then in terms of the range anxiety on battery performance in Indonesia, because of the concerns that we've heard from the partners, we worked with different organizations to offer more than 800 battery swap stations at petrol kiosks and also Grab premises to help reduce anxiety and increase the confidence for them to adopt EV motorbikes. And finally, in terms of product fit, I think we talked about how in Thailand we've been able to give feedback to producers for the vehicles. And alongside in other countries as well that we operate in, Indonesia and Singapore, we've been trialing and giving feedback to help the products be tailored to the unique use cases. And a lot of this is really only possible through partnerships and having different parts of the ecosystem come together to make the transition together.
Can you tell us how much is Grab investing in this?
I'm afraid I don't have any numbers that I can disclose, but I think it's really a partnership with different players coming together to play different roles and investing in different ways, not just financially, but also in terms of tech, in terms of business model and operations as well.
Okay, thank you. Kundin.
If you guys can pull out the slide that I have, the Singapore Green Plan, the slide. So while they're pulling out the slide, I think Jamie talked about partnerships. So in Singapore, actually, we're very happy to work with, partner with Grab, actually, to support their EV electrification ambition. So if you can go to the next slide, sorry. So to the question, really, can operators operate profitably without government support? And the answer is no at this point in time. So it's very clear. So this is the Singapore Green Plan. This was announced in February 2021. So you can see from the start of 2021, actually we have a lot more EV adoption in the country. So as SP Mobility, we started our journey in 2018 when in the country, where during that period of time, we only had 700 EVs in Singapore. So we started as an adjacency to our grid business, and we also wanted to electrify and also encourage this carbon neutrality. So you can see here, the government has set very clear guidelines. So I think Jamie also alluded to that. The certainty that this brings actually encourages EV adoption. So by 2030, any new car that you buy in Singapore has to be of a cleaner energy model. So i.e., you can't buy an ICE vehicle. So I think the certainty of that actually encourages consumers to change. So in terms of the latest statistics in September, I think out of all new cars, for passenger cars, there was about 22% of purchases were BEVs. So actually that's an encouraging sign. But the issue that we have really is costs of cars in Singapore. So that continues to be a perennial issue. We have the election next year in Singapore, so we shall see. Quite seriously, but really we shall see. So in short, we still need government support here in this area to really encourage the viability of this business. So the last point is really, I think there was a question about can we operate profitably? So I think in Singapore, those pure public network charging providers, I think today is still very much we're still on the road to profitability. So I think that's also a function of the number of EVs in Singapore.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about profitability. Like, what's the business plan here for SP Group?
What's the business plan? Well, as a private enterprise, we need to make money. So it's something that I think all of us in this room understand. So I think in this case, as I mentioned earlier, 1.45% electrified today based on latest statistics. So today, the EV-CP ratio in Singapore is probably around closer to 1:4, which is an internationally leading number if you look at it. Even in Thailand, I think it's 1:15. So what this means is every one charger is actually servicing 4 cars in Singapore. It's phenomenal. So this range anxiety that Jamie mentioned, in Singapore, it shouldn't happen, it shouldn't exist today. Especially those who've been to Singapore, you look at my previous slide, there's a small island, 40 kilometers, left, right, and then 20 top down. So range anxiety in a small island like us, really, that really doesn't quite, it shouldn't be an issue, to be honest. So I think there's a lot of transitional behavioral issues where users are thinking, currently my user pattern is I pump petrol every 1.5 weeks. When the car tells me it's nearing 100, then I panic and I go to petrol station. But with EVs, actually, it's a total consumer change mindset. You have to charge when you can, when you have a charger. So you have a charger in the office, charger when you go to the mall to do your groceries, a charger at home. Then this is just a constant charging. You're keeping between 50 to 80% that range. So it's a mindset change. So I think to answer your question, I think when we do get to this level of comfort amongst all of us here in this room about EV charging, and we demystify it and becomes a way of life, then I think we would definitely be on a road to profitability, not just for ourselves, but actually for the whole industry, because we are here. There's also a sustainability element here. So I think we are all very focused on making sure that the journey is successful.
According to your timeline here, I think your worst case scenario would be 17 years, right, to wait, because 2040 ICE would be phased out 100%.
I will send you my CEO's email address. You can explain a 17-year gap to wait for profitability. Well, no, I think 2040 is the end date, really, but I think we anticipate the numbers of vehicles will get to interesting numbers probably by 2030, if not earlier.
All right, thank you. คุณกิติศักดิ์ค่ะ
ครับก็ sorry so again, back to my first question, still, we still need to have the government policy to support on that. I can foresee that the first thing, of course, the charging fee, that we need to have more program and more longer time to support on the charging fee to encourage the people who would like to change the car, to change from ICE to be the BEV, and to support the government policy that Thai government already encourage and already support a lot of the OEM manufacturing here in Thailand as well. So that's it, the first thing. The second thing is in terms of the investment, I think we need the government to have more scheme in terms to support for the more private program, for example, like BOI, to support on the investor to have more and more private sector to support EV charging station, EV charging infrastructure. Right now, you can foresee in Thailand, most of the EV charging infrastructure will be like utility or the state enterprise that they are going to do the investment on that. But we believe that's still not enough because if you can see from the social every day, like the long weekend happen, that is coming again in coming New Year. So we can have a lot of the social is the hottest question, hottest complaint about the queue or how are they to serve the EV charging station and it doesn't work, and a lot of app, a lot of the connectivity doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. So I think two things is electric fee to support the charging fee, and more longer time, not only 2 years or 3 years, and another one in terms of the more player and more wider market. So we need to have the more and more scheme in terms of the private program to support the investor.
Thank you. So I have only one question left, and then I'll just open the floor for any questions that you might have. So if you have questions, just type them in, okay? And then I'll ask them for you. So the final question would be about technologies. What would be some of the exciting technologies in your field that you think would help put everyone here at ease when they actually use EV? As everyone said, we might not feel that comfortable or at ease yet driving an EV, right? Because we're worried about charging, where's the station, what app do I have to use, and then we have to fight for space as well in some areas. So what are some of the technologies that you think can help us ease all of our concerns here? Khun Tron.
First thing to do, I think the battery technology is important to make the EV car cheaper. So everyone can buy it. And about the charging technology, I think maybe the charger with V2G function that can enable the EV car, send the electricity back to the grid. So easy for the grid management to do the investment also. And also maybe the technology about the smart energy management platform or something to manage overall the electricity efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Khun Jamie.
Thank you. You can pull up my slide now. Thank you. I guess I'd like to answer from a slightly different perspective because I think when we talked about advanced technologies, I'd like to say beyond advanced technologies, it also has to be complemented with user-friendly interface and technologies and systems and innovations. So I think it's to address a lot of the points raised earlier about user hesitation to transition and how there are a lot of apps. So this here is one example of the end-to-end app, in-app EV bike rental system that we have. Basically, to help the delivery partners move towards delivery or driver partners use a motorcycle e-bike. within the app, you can access the rental plan selection. So sometimes, if there's a perception that, I can't afford an EV, over here you can quickly see that, hey, from a daily basis, we have plans that start from 125 baht a day. And instantly it helps people understand, quickly select. And then there's information about, how do you use the vehicle, how do you hand over, in-app reminders, and in fact, it auto deducts the payment from the wallet of our driver partners, so it's very convenient for them as well, and it automatically renews the plan as they need. And this program also comes along with other suite of benefits of unlimited battery swaps and things like that, and covering all insurance. So putting all of this together and innovating on that consumer experience helps. Is I think quite an important part to ensure that technology gets adopted. And we think that as we have some of the scientists looking into deep technology to make batteries efficient, etc., and building infrastructure, we believe it's important to complement it with also innovations in the user journey, in business model innovation, process innovation, to get users to be able to easily adopt these technologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Kun Dean.
So the question is about game-changing technologies and to make charging more reliable and faster. So I'm here today on Delta's invitation. So as you can see earlier, we actually have the largest fast charging network in Singapore. So we use a lot of Delta products. So in terms of reliable and faster, I think we're there already. So maybe Delta, you guys are doing a great job to help us get there in Singapore. So maybe this one don't need to spend too much time here. But semi-product placements aside, I think in terms of what we look at game changing. Game changing means it has to be you have to be mass market implementable and adoptable, and has to be affordable. So we just look at the EV journey, EV adoption journey. When we started in 2018, as I mentioned, there are 700 vehicles. Today in Singapore, there are 14,085 EVs across the whole spectrum: buses, cars, taxis, motorcycles. 800 to 14,000, that's quite a significant leap. And a lot of that is really because of, like the government, the Singapore Green Plan, which I shared earlier. So in terms of today, if we're looking at game-changing technologies, it took us 5 years to get to this point. If we are looking at what's next for EV charging, then, what's the current pain point? So I think, as you mentioned earlier, waiting time. So the pain point for the consumers would be, it takes too long to charge, I need to use a lot of app, can't you do plug and charge? So I think in terms of technologies that would be interesting going forward would be things like wireless charging, autonomous charging, mobile charging. But in order for these to really hit game-changing, mass market, we're really talking about even a significant amount of time. Because as Kun Tron mentioned, battery technology. So in order for these technologies to work, you really need a confluence of factors. You need the manufacturers to produce batteries which are able to augment some of these charging behaviors. You need consumers to also continue to change and adopt their ways. You need operators like us to also have the equipment to be able to enable this. You need building owners who have the available power and the flexibility to work some of these around. So my view is, game-changing technologies. Yes, I think every once in a while you'll hear something sexy that comes up that tickles your ears and your mind, and you'll be like, wow, that's really convenient and nice. But if we really want to deploy that mass market, there are a lot of actually impediments around it. So I feel in this thing you're looking at the lowest common denominator. So however fast your manufacturers are moving, that's probably that's where it is. And this really needs a lot of manufacturer support and push in order to get to the level of game changing.
Thank you, Kun Gitisak. I think Delta has a lot to say about technologies.
ครับเดี๋ยวผมขอสไลด์ด้วยนะครับ So I would like to introduce our technology or the game-changing solution today. What you can see on the top is our platform, which is the Delta Grid energy management. Actually, in the market, you can see that we have the solar monitoring platform, we have the energy management platform, and we have the EV charging management platform in the midterm. But to solve the issue, and you don't have you don't need to have so much platform. So we just design all of the platform into one to be our Delta Grid that you can use this one to manage the power that you can get from the grid, or you can either select the power source from the renewable directly to your facility or to your charger, or you might use that for the hybrid system, something like that. And below that, you can see what we have and what we provide today is EV charging solution, PCS, power conditioning system, and battery energy storage. And we also have the technology, which is the solar inverter on hand as well. And what we provide and what we try to help to help our partner and our customer, that you can see we have the kit set that just give the customer or the user the idea that what would you like to have in terms of the power capacity. You can select from those kits. Yeah. And for example, today, if we are talking about more reliable to the grid, I just have some of the small figure that how can ESS help. Yeah, what you can see that mostly we have, for example, we have the EV charger that they want to have the total load like 1,800 kilowatt or 1.8 megawatt power, but your feeder line just only provide or able to provide what, just 1.6 megawatt. How are you going to do? This is some of the idea that give to you that if you would like to have the more reliable grid and helping the grid, or even though the low carbon concept, you can consider about that. You just connect another battery energy storage or another energy storage technology, another 200 kilowatt in there. Then you can have the enough capacity or enough power to serve your charger already. This is some of the sample. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kun Kitisak. Okay, so now I'll open up the floor for any questions that you might have. Okay? Questions? Can I have the first question? Okay, what do you think about peer-to-peer energy trading platform technology? Which aspect is the most challenging to adapt? Anyone? Basically, peer-to-peer energy trading platform. We becoming prosumer, huh?
Okay, let's start from my side. As I mentioned, right now, for the example, and close to your side as well, as I mentioned at the beginning, we almost have more than 5 mobile applications right now to use with 5 brand of 6 or 8 brand of the charger. This is the problem that it's difficult for us as well. So if we would have the energy trading platform, just one, to use with all of the charger or all of the any kind of the energy trading, that would be perfect for today and the coming future. It's not make everybody crazy, or you need to download a lot of the application into your mobile phone, and at the end you don't know what will be happen, right? Because if you have the one platform, you can combine all of the connectivity in one, right? Because some area that you go to, for example, you go to Chiang Mai during the New Year period, I believe that some of the 1 or 2 apps that I have been facing before, it doesn't work. And then it's turning around, and then you go out and then you get in there again, it's turning around. And then you don't know how to do it. And in the meantime, you turn back at the back. Oh, a lot of people, a lot of cars is queuing. What are you going to do? Yeah, this is. I think we have to think about the energy trading platform, just single one, and apply to all. This is one of my idea.
In Singapore, do you already have peer-to-peer energy trading?
No, we don't. Well, peer-to-peer, I'm reading this as a B2C, like consumers doing it. The answer is no, not for electricity. But B2B wise, yes, there's an exchange rate. But if I can just interpret this question as like it's a V2G question, right? Vehicle to grid. So, i.e., you own an electric vehicle, you've got a battery, you can store 60 kilowatt hour, for example, and then you want to sell it back to the grid for profit. And how can you enable that? So I think that's what this question is referring to. So I think in Singapore there are certain challenges. The first thing is really maybe only 10% of population stays in a landed house. So i.e. you got many people, everyone else stays in either condominium or public housing. So essentially you have no control over the electricity price that you are charging at. So to give you an example, if you charge at public housing, and you charge at 60 cents per kilowatt hour, that's your cost. So basically, if you're going to sell it back to me as an operator, I'm not going to buy it back from you at 60 cents, right? So I'm going to sell it back from you at maybe 30 cents. So if I buy it back from you at 30 cents, the question to you is, why do you want to sell it back at 30 cents when you bought it for 60 cents? So the economics, if I strip it down to its simplest form, I think there is a problem with a straightforward model. So I think, but does it mean that it can't happen? I think the answer is no. I think the answer probably lies somewhere in terms of having enough aggregation and maybe having enough distributed energy sources around, i.e. more solar, for example, microgrids. So that's also something that SP is looking at. We've actually tried V2G in 2020. But more from a grid reliability perspective angle. So I think this is probably an interesting evolution. I think in Europe it's pretty common already, but for a country like Singapore, I think the app problem that Kun Kitisak mentioned aside, I think there is a economic problem around enabling this in terms of mass market adoption.
Kun Thron and Kun Jamie, anything to add? Or do you want, let's move to the next question? Or Kun Thron?
Maybe I think my personal, I like the peer-to-peer trading. You know. I think it's important, but the most challenge to have it, in case of Thailand, maybe we need to open access the grid first, third-party access. Otherwise, you cannot trade the energy. You cannot buy from me, something like that. So I think if we can have third-party access, then come with V2G, vehicle to grid technology that I mentioned. So the like us, the CPO, can pull the energy from the car and sell back or support the grid in the future. I think it's a win-win for the operator and also the electricity or distribution company. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next question, please. Next question is, you all talk about reducing carbon emissions by using EVs, but what about the carbon footprint incurred in manufacturing EVs and their end-of-life disposal? Yeah, anyone? Yeah.
So I think the answer there is really where do you draw your power from? So in Singapore, our electricity is generated via natural gas, so we don't burn coal. So as first off, I think studies have shown that if you're using natural gas, if you look at if you're using an EV based on certain mileage every year, I think the carbon emissions will still be lower than an ICE vehicle. But having said that, there are ICE vehicles and there are ICE vehicles, right? So, but in general, that the equation is still positive. So I think in terms of car manufacturers, for example, the most carbon intensive is really in terms of the battery. So if you're using cobalt, for example, that's highly energy intensive, lithium as well, water intensive, uses a lot of resources. There's also, modern slavery act issues, using child labor to extract cobalt from the ground without using proper tools. So there's a whole slew of issues around that. But as we all know, battery technology is moving. There's talk of using more, sodium ion batteries. Solid state batteries are coming into play as well. So essentially, EV technology battery technology is evolving. So I think overall, if you're saying in Singapore, if you drive an EV, are you saving the earth versus buying an ICE vehicle? I think the answer there is still yes, because of the nature of energy that we get. And over time also, we are going to green the energy as well, importing that, for example, from around ASEAN region in terms of interconnectors. So that's my short answer to this.
Thank you. Anyone want to add anything to this question?
I mean, I'll just answer more in general rather than specific technology, but I think the main thing is when we move towards sustainability and tackling climate change, it will be a series of difficult trade-offs that we make. And the question is, maybe we might need to think of how we need to make progress when there are good solutions versus waiting for a perfect solution. Because if we say that, okay, let's not use EVs because the carbon footprint is also incurred in manufacturing EVs, and we stay status quo, it's also not the solution. But the important thing is recognizing what are the impacts when we move to a new solution, and then come up with more innovation and ways to mitigate those impacts. You have to keep moving forward and make those trade-offs as we go along. If not, we will not move closer towards solving the problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? No. No. Okay. Next question, please. No more questions. Oh, okay. Everyone is so clear. So thank you for your questions then. So please give a big round of applause to our 4 speakers here. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณค่ะ All right. So now we'll move on to our second panel discussion then, okay? We'll be talking about rethinking data center infrastructure for a sustainable future. But before we move on to our panel discussion, yes, let's do another poll here. So this is the question. What is the most important aspect of a sustainable data center infrastructure? Energy efficiency, power management, renewable energy sources, data center design, and waste reduction. Oh, okay. The majority is about energy efficiency. Most important aspects of a sustainable data center infrastructure. Design coming up. Energy efficiency. Oh, we have a tie. Oh, no. Oh, it's all about design, really? Nothing to do with clean energy and efficiency? Okay, so it ends with data center design then. Is that it? I don't know. We'll ask our panelists here, okay? So let me introduce each one of them. May I invite on stage Mr. Yuan Smith, JLL APAC Data Center Sales Lead. Please give Mr. Yuan a very warm welcome here. Next, may I invite on stage Mr. Edward Van Lent, EPI Chairman and CEO. Next, may I invite Dr. James P. Young from B Global Tech, Associate Director. And finally, may I invite Mr. Sakda Sae-eung, Delta Southeast Asia Regional Director of Communication and Information Solutions. Again, same thing. I have 3 main questions and then the floor for the questions, okay? So let's start with the impact that data centers have on the environment. What is the main environmental impacts that data centers have? And the question is, what are the key considerations for creating an efficient and green data center? That's the first question. Okay, I forgot. I need to let them introduce themselves first. The 30 seconds, I forgot. Yes, I want you to do it. You told me before you want only 15 seconds, Mr. Ewan. Okay, let's start with you.
Good morning. My name is Ewan Smith. I'm the APAC Data Center Sales Lead for JLL. Currently based in Singapore. I support the data center asset class around the region by helping the respective countries develop their data center business. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Edward.
Edward Verleent, Chairman CEO for the EPI Group of Companies, based in Singapore as well. EPI, we focus on data center training, auditing of data centers for design, facility, and operations.
Thank you. Kun James.
It's good to see that the poll, like data center design, everyone's interested in. So we're B Global Tech. We're multidisciplinary design consultants for data centers. So we're electrical, mechanical, and architectural. So we do data center design for various data center sizes up to 200-300 megawatt down to 1 megawatt then cable landing stations. We've got our clients here, True IDC engineers here. So welcome them. Thanks.
Thank you. Kun Sakda.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Sakda. So I'm in charge for the Southeast Asia, Oceania as a product head of the critical infrastructure solution, where that include the telecom power solution, data center solution, and also the power backup solution. So basically Delta, we provide the products to support our client in Southeast Asia. Also, right now we are moving toward to a solution offering where we also work with these designers or the financial company to offer our solution in the way of how to make a data center to be more energy efficient or more sustainable to support our client. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so now the introduction is done. Let's get into the question. So the first question would be about the environmental impact of data centers. What are the main environmental impacts? And if you want to build a clean, efficient one, what are the considerations that you might need? Let's start with Kun Yuan.
Thank you. So I'm really lucky to be going first here because we're all going to give exactly the same answer. So on behalf of my esteemed panelists, I'll answer this question for them. So the environmental impact of data centers is, as we all know, it's power usage, it's water usage, it's management of legacy and e-waste, and it's the aesthetics of a lot of these facilities on the landscape. So there's an effect, a blot on the landscape, if you like, because they're not particularly attractive facilities, but it's something that we need. So in terms of how we look at the management of these issues, obviously we look at energy savings, cost reduction, environmental sustainability, enterprise and social image enhancement, and obviously the reasonable use of resources and what does reasonable mean. I don't think there's nowhere to hide really when it comes to data centers. We need to face the fact that they are not particularly environmentally friendly, and we've got a long way to go to make them so. So I think at the moment we've got an uphill battle, but at least we've taken the first step and we are aware of the issues that need addressing. Question 2, please.
No, let's stick with one first, okay? Kun Edward.
Well, obviously I agree everything he said, so that's my answer. No, I think we have to go back to the origins, right? Why do we need data centers? And that's obviously because we have data. And with the whole digital transformation, etc., data is exploding. AI obviously is part of it. We know machine learning, etc. But I think everybody focuses a lot on the data center itself in terms of reliability, but also on the energy efficiency, cooling, power, etc. But I think we have to go back a little bit deeper and say, why do we need all that data? And for how long do we need that data? Everybody takes a picture of their pizza from 5 or 10 different angles, send it to their friends, post it on Facebook, and the same picture goes up again next week, and it keeps there forever. So
sentimental value.
It's a pizza. I have no sentimental value with pizza. That's why I eat them. I don't keep them. So I think that explosive data growth and sometimes useless experiment, because nobody's going to look at the picture, 10 years from now, look at that pizza picture again. So we keep hoarding data. We replicating it multiple times. I think we all have a backup, the hard drive, and then probably have it 5 times, because just in case another hard drive fails, we have another backup of a backup of a backup. And that creates the real issue. The more data, the more it needs to be stored, and the more data centers we ultimately need. So I think what the industry really needs to look at, what we're doing now is great, but I think we need to start looking at, say, data optimization and say, how do we store it? Microsoft came out with a Project Silica, where data is being stored in glass, making it longer lasting, less energy is required, rather than having a hard disk spinning for the next 20 years to save that picture of your pizza, so to speak. So I think that's a key thing we should also look at. What do we do with data? How can we optimize that? And how can we store that data in the most energy friendly way, rather than having data that we don't access, consuming power for basically the rest of our lives.
Thank you. Kun James.
All right, I was talking to Kavit Kumar during the break about data centers reducing scope 3 emission, right? So here, data centers seen as the bad boys because we use about 4 to 5% of all the global electricity produced. But if you were to distribute all those servers, all those computers in separate distributed arrangement, you'll be looking at multiple times the energy used. So really, I tell myself, having data centers and designing for data centers is actually good for the environment, because we can put all the problems together and then tackle it head on, right? And to look at efficiency, look at scope 3, reducing scope 3 emissions. Otherwise, without data centers, you would just say there wouldn't be enough energies to go around. So that's my take on energy. But so fully agree with what Kavit Kumar. So learned a lot there about not only do we need to use less power, we need to look at using less water, no fossil fuels, and also scope 3, how to make it everything recyclable, right? So the whole picture is not just energy and water. Yeah.
Thank you, Kun Sakda. What's your take on this?
Yeah, actually, there are 2 questions, right? The first question is that what is the environmental impact of a data center? Basically, a data center create a substantial impact to the carbon footprint. Yeah, basically start from building a data centers, right? We use a lot of concrete, we use a lot of water to mix up cement, all those kind of things. My experience in a data center industry, right, at like a decade ago, we talk about the size of data center. Someone gonna build 8 megawatt data centers, that large one already, 10 years ago. But nowadays, we talk about 100 megawatt, right? And someone in the state already talk about a gigawatt data center, and at one size, right? So what if those big or huge data center, how we handle those heat generation from that, right? And also the power instead of supplying to the community, to the industrial zone or those things, but we take those electricity to supply to data centers. Yeah, that's also quite. That's why I mentioned it's a substantial impact to these environmentals. And into a second question, I think it's quite similar answer to the other panelists. One thing is that everyone talk about the energy efficiency, right? Because we try to make a data center. So nowadays in Delta ourselves, we also benchmark our own data center as well in terms of the PUE, right? We try to improve our PUE along the way. And we also like have internal comparison between Thailand, Taiwan, China, how to reach a better PUE number. Like right now in Thailand, we can reach 1.35. Yeah, and we're aiming for 1.2 next year. So we're building a new one and adapting a new technology to do that. And the other thing is also consideration to adapt renewable energy into our data centers. Yeah, I think many one talk about that, but the principal issue, the fundamental issue is that I believe everyone know that renewable energy is not stable energy sources, right? But data center needs something that's very stable, to make 100% services time to support our customers. So that would come to how we could adapt those energy storage thing to work with those renewable energy source into our data centers. Yeah, that's also one of the consideration. And the third one could be like the water consumption, because data center, apart from building it from the concrete or those material, right? During operation, it also consumes a lot of water as well too, because the cooling system or those kind of thing, we need the water to make it cool down. Yeah. And the last part, I quite happy to hear from Microsoft this morning, because someone overlooked that building a data center same size by using a concrete versus a steel material. I look at some of the research paper. They say using a concrete would generate 40% higher carbon footprint than using the steel material. And it can do recycle on the concrete, right? But still, we still can recycle to use for the other purpose. Yeah, that's for consideration what I would answer for the first question. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've been hearing a lot of issues here so far. Everyone must save less photos, and then the materials used to build the data centers itself, renewable energy, water consumption, design, maybe technology as well, energy efficiency. So I think there are a lot at play here of how to build a sustainable data centers, because we'll be using more and more of them, not less, in my humble opinion, Edward. So let's move on to the second question here, okay? What are some of the challenges and opportunities that you guys see for green data centers in the region, and what are the approaches that you're taking in creating sustainable data centers? Ewan.
Thank you. I think with the green data center, as with any facility, the phrase I'd use is you've got to start with the end in mind. So when you first sit down with your piece of paper and your pencil and you start designing a data center, it's no good halfway through thinking, oh, maybe I should make this a bit greener than it actually is. So at JLL, we look at the whole data center life cycle. So our capital markets guys can raise money and sort out leasing and all of that sort of stuff that I don't really understand. And then it comes across to my side of the desk, and we look at site selection, we look at technical due diligence, we work with organizations like Edwards and others in terms of design, design approval and accreditation. We work on project management, construction management. We go through commissioning, and then ultimately we take over the running of the facility on a day-to-day basis. So it's very important that you look at what you want to achieve before you set out on the journey. One of the big issues, as we've already mentioned, is cooling. I was on a committee in Singapore for a couple of years, IMDA. They published a report recently, which the whole thing was about tropical data center. How do we run a data center in a place like Singapore or anywhere in the tropics where it's hot and humid? And and get more out of our facility. So typically, about 40% of the cost of running a data center goes into cooling. I just got some cheat notes here. Many operators are running at 22 degrees or even lower. And obviously we have a lot more challenges in this part of the world than we do in Europe or North America, where the ambient temperature is so much lower. So the panel came out with a guideline. They've actually published 26 degrees. It was higher than that. We spent a lot of time and effort in researching this, and we were up in the high 20s, low 30s before we saw a big degradation in performance from the equipment. But we figured that if we put that in the report, then everybody would think we were crazy. So we settled on 26, and that's what the report contains. And that can offer a saving of between 2 and 5% on your cooling costs, which is pretty significant. So we've all got into this mindset that cold is better, and that we all need to be in a data center wearing a fur coat and a pair of gloves and a woolly hat. The IMDA report contradicts that, and I think operators and end users alike should be looking at running these facilities at higher temperatures, because the equipment, which is really all we're worried about, will be fine.
Oh, thank you.
I'm finished, thanks.
Good Edward.
Yeah, no, I echo that, right? We're sitting in the wrong part of the world, right? Because we're basically living in a very hot and humid climate, and that doesn't make it easier. So the advantages that we can take of the environment, as Ewan said as well, in Europe is much more easy. You can open the windows basically and cool your data center, which in this part of the world wouldn't really work so well. So that is one of the problems. I think also the access to renewable energy is starting in this part of the world, so that takes a little bit of extra time as well to get in the right places. I think the whole carbon offset by buying yourself out of carbon by basically taking credits from somebody else, I think that's just a wrong item to begin with. I think that should be banned altogether, because otherwise you can't really measure true performance. But you also have to think back a little bit, right? We talk about data centers being, this big, ugly buildings consuming a lot of power, and depending on which report you believe, it's about 3 to 4%, which is huge, right? On a worldwide scale, it's huge. But then, being the devil's advocate I'm always am, then I ask myself, and what about the other 96%? How concerned are we about the 96%? Because that's obviously, if we can make a 10% betterment there, that has a far more bigger impact than doing a 10% on data centers, for example. So I'm not discarding the data centers are very, very important to look at, because it's growing like crazy, so we need to look at it. But how do we go about it? And I think that especially in Europe, you sometimes lose the will to live. If you really look at all the standards that are coming up and changing all the time, it's just impossible to keep up. It's really madness. The amount of reporting that organizations need to do, you need to hire an army to get it all done. So then you can ask yourself, the question, how many papers do we print out just to do the reporting every time and review it, and who's actually going to review it? Nobody. So it is, a bit of madness, and I think we need to slow down a little bit. The amount of regulations in terms of different codes, different standards, different guidelines, it's just, again, madness. And if you look at the essence, they all come back to the same thing. How much water do you use, potable, non-potable? How much energy do you use, renewable, non-renewable? What do you do with your heat? Do you throw it in the air, or do you use something in a proper way with it? So in essence, all those codes and standards are pretty much addressing the same thing. But everybody, fights for, well, my standard is better than anybody else. And as a result, you get 100,000 standards, all different. And then European Union, as they always are, every country says we need to report on the European standards, but then we also need to report on all the local standards, etc. And I think it drives people mad, because we have a business to run. Right? We need to keep the data center up and running, efficient as we want to do. Everybody will do the best anyway, and sometimes regulatory makes it even worse rather than good. So I think we need to slow down a little bit and give the data centers the space and a bit of flexibility to do their own way, rather than going so hard on them. And again, considering that we are 3%, we are not the 97%. So,
feel better? Get
feel
it all
much
out.
better. Yeah,
Get it all out.
If we can get a picture, then I would feel better.
All right, Kun James.
Right, challenges and opportunities. Let me give you the bad news is that we need to build new data centers, right? So during COVID, some engineers been working away, OpenAI, giving us AI, and now I think it's here to stay. Web3, metaverse. So all these applications require really, really high density racks. In the past, it's been like 5, 7, 10 kilowatt per rack is considered high, or you know. So when I say past, that was like 3 years ago, right? So right now we're designing rack densities up to 80 to 100 kilowatt per rack. So traditional data centers won't do the work, so therefore we need to build new data centers. When we got the questions, I was talking to Ewan just yesterday. He was telling me that, you know, getting these questions, he was getting his head of sustainability to give him some answers, responses that he could present during this panel discussion. And so he was typing away, and somehow he closed his computer, and all the data that he spent the last 2 hours disappeared. Right. So what I did, I didn't tell him. I didn't want to rub it in his face. Was the first thing I did after gotten all these questions was I went to ChatGPT. Whoa, what are all these things?
I don't know how it works.
So right now AI is in although it's only been a few months, right? So I went and also I searched up all the app stores. Right, it's in, let's see, not just Copilot. Generative AI is in content creation, movie, gaming, generative art, music, education, healthcare, security, and ride sharing. Right, so ride sharing, I'm sure that you're doing something with AI. Yeah, so it's here to stay, and I think we've got to get ready for it. So these are the challenges and opportunities. We're getting a lot of tender inquiries. Most of them want flexibility as to we don't just want to design a data center that's going to be okay for 10 kilowatt per rack, but want to be flexible. So a certain portion of a building want some 80, 100. So this is good news for us. We're designers, so we like challenges and like designing data centers. But yeah, that's it. So I look at the solutions. There's been a lot of talk even on AI doing the optimization for cooling for data centers. But I'm a little bit reserved on this idea because just a few weeks ago in Singapore, there was a major, I won't name names, but a major data center lost power for 9 hours, right? So these MRT people, they can't swipe in restaurants, customer having to, ATMs down, all the FPOS is down. So restaurant, after you eat your meal, your pizza, you don't have, I haven't carried cash for so many years. So I wouldn't be able to pay, you know? So it's caused a lot of problems, and really, if you want AI to optimize your data center, you need to look at more sensors, and also at the, it's just some challenges that still need to be ironed out. But it's a good idea, but we need to also look at the reliability, because ultimately data center being reliable, being uptime, being there all the time, 24/7, it's considered a critical infrastructure, mission critical. So like hospitals. Although I don't know how, if they will kill people if data centers down. But anyway, the challenges and things that we need to be careful of. Thanks.
Thank you, Kun Sakda. The challenges and opportunities of green data centers.
Yeah, if we talk about the challenge, right? Just now I'm touched about like the capacity of a data center increasing dramatically, I believe the biggest challenge is about the electricity limitation. If we look at the Southeast Asia market, we start to see the saturation of a data center in Singapore because the limitation of the power. So many players go around Singapore, like in Johor Bahru, Malaysia, in the Indonesia, Batam, or some consider in Thailand. Yeah, but the limitation of the electricity is still a big challenge because a site selection of a data center is not that easy. It doesn't mean you choose everywhere you want to build a data center, right? Sometimes you need to consider many factors, and that particular area might not have enough power to supply to you. Yeah, or might be you don't have a reliable power sources to supply to you as well. So that what I think is the big challenge on the data center. Inside Delta, we also have a lot of discussion about, we see data center requirement pop up in Southeast Asia a lot, like 700 megawatt, 300 megawatt, or those things around the Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia. But our question is that who gonna be the tenant? Who gonna rent those space, Because somehow we see, that might be the same customer, but they try to build, the data center to support those requirements. And the challenge will become, if you build the data center upfront, you spend a lot of money, right? Without tenant to rent the space, you're burning the money every day. Yeah, so how to resolve this kind of issue, like from Delta's point of view, we also look at scalability, how is the topology or architecture that we can support our customer. Like we did quite a lot of like a prefabricated solution or those power container solution where we address this particular issue that might happen to our customers so that they can start to deploy the data center phase by phase, and then they can scale up when they have a tenant or those things. That's how we address this challenge. And the other thing, we also see the opportunity to adapt more renewable energy into a data center. I believe in Southeast Asia, we got a lot of renewable energy, right? Those solar powers, hydro power, etc. But what we lacking of is still sometimes when we would like to get those power into a data center and measure it that, this is the renewable energy, right? The application or the system to measure, right? How much the kilowatt hour we pull from the hydro source or those things still not mature enough, right? To adapt to count or those carbon credit. Yeah, that would be the point that from technology point of view, we can go further into that area to monitor the power, the energy usage, and then how much carbon we can reduce carbon emission from those renewable sources. And the other thing would be those energy storage that we can make it work together with those renewable energies into a data center application. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll move on to our third and final question, and then I'll take questions from the floor, okay? So let's talk about technologies here a bit. What are some of the technologies, the latest one, most exciting ones that you think would have an impact on green data centers, on building one? And how can we accelerate the adoption of those technologies? Yuan?
Thank you. Just for a minute, let's go back to Edwards Pizza. More and more data being generated for a lot of trivial stuff. And the life cycle or the lifespan of data is a whole new. We could have a panel on that for 45 minutes. How long do we keep it for, and why do we keep it? If somebody's passed away, why are we keeping all of the data that they've ever generated of their pizzas and whatever else? And how do we manage that? How do we how do the operators manage that? How do they get in touch with the families of the deceased person and say, look, you've got 6 months to get all the holiday pictures off of my server, otherwise I'm going to shut it down. The answer is they don't actually want to, because we're all paying for the storage of our data. So as an operator, particularly our hyperscale friends, they want people to store more data because they're making money out of it. So in terms of the data center industry slowing down, construction slowing down, it's probably not going to happen because these guys want more data centers, and things will have to change significantly before that happens. So we have to look at sustainable ways. We have to look at better ways of producing, of manufacturing, building these data centers. Again, this is probably the same thing as we're all going to say. Solar power, immersion cooling, direct contact and chassis level cooling, increased use of lithium-ion batteries, more efficient batteries, hydrogen power. I even read an article recently about ammonia-powered engines. So there's a constant evolvement of equipment, not only for data center but other applications as well. But they can be used in the facilities that we're building. Waste to heat reuse was another one, and there's a great story, a side story off of that. Continuing on with the food topic, apparently lobsters need a certain temperature of water in which to flourish and which to grow. And there's some testing, some prototype testing going on whereby the waste heat from a data center is pumped into lobster tanks to get the water to the optimum temperature so they can grow big and fat, and we can enjoy eating those rather than Ed's pizza. So AI is another consideration. Obviously, a lot of operators have AI compute on site within their facilities. So how can we use AI technology to run data centers more efficiently, to run them more sustainably, and really to take advantage of it? We can use it in the design, we can use it even in the construction, but I think in the longer term, once the facility is built, how do we operate it, and how do we keep it green? Thank you.
Thank you. Edward, please.
Yeah, basically the same thing, right? I think I'm very bullish on some of the technology that's being developed, like the Microsoft Silica. I think that's going to be a game changer in terms of data storage, at a low energy level. I think a lot of, the cooling technology, cold plating, immersion cooling and all that is getting better and better. And I think in general, any vendor in the industry know that energy is a big thing. Delta obviously is pushing technology to the limits to really get more efficient data centers. I have pictures of that if you want to see that. No? Oh,
next to the pizza.
Next to the pizza. But also I think movement towards edge, pushing processing capabilities closer to the consumer. That can help as well with some of the energy savings overall from a global perspective. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think what we really need to do is education. I think there's still a lot of people lacking about how to achieve it. What are some of the low-hanging fruit that we very quickly can optimize our data center and really make an impact, whether small or big, every impact count. So I think that's a key thing, to educate the workforce, showing them, leading them the way, and I think the government can also play there a big role to advocate and push, in a gentle way, not too many regulation, but in a gentle way, the knowledge transfer. I think that's a key thing to make people aware. And I always compare it with, people need to be motivated, and it's always the good old carrot and the stick, right? So if we go home and we leave the house and we go eat that famous pizza now, everybody turns everything off, TV off, everything goes off. Then we go on holiday in a hotel, and then since we paid for the room, we leave the card in because we want to come back in a nice cold room. We leave all the lights and the TV on because it's paid for anyway. So just imagine if you would have a punishment there. Let's say that you check out the next time and they say, well, thank you very much for staying at this lovely hotel. Here is $100 for the room and another $20 because you wasted, water and electricity and you went in the bathtub 5 times. Guess what happens now, right? Suddenly we turn off the light, the TV, and we take a shower instead of having a bath 3 times a day. So there needs to be a certain punishment sometimes to drive behavior. And I think that could really help the industry as well to make people more aware and appreciate it for the problem that we have at hand.
Thank you, James.
All right, I agree with you. But as an engineer, we talked about data center design. So can you bring up my slide? Yeah, so here I think I won't go through them. Most of these Ewan have already mentioned. I'll just go into a few which I think will need a strong look at. First one, I think I'll pick maybe hydrogen fuel cells and maybe microgrid and micro nuclear power plant within data center to generate electricity. Not sure how you feel about nuclear. Yeah, but our CEO here, B Global Tech Carlos, he mentioned in Europe, Rolls-Royce is actually seriously looking at the green form of energy without using fossil cell, right? It is, to me, an electrical engineer, I do believe it is a green form of energy generation. And if you do have a small grid providing electricity, a power plant providing electricity to surrounding few data centers without emission, that is probably a good idea, and I think maybe that would be a good focus, right? That's me. Another one, maybe I'll bring up aquifer cooling. So I'm from Perth, Australia. And in Perth, we've got this square meter arrays looking at the sky astronomy. And there's a supercomputer looking at it every day, every second. And all the data is stored, sorry. Here in the supercomputer center is called PORSI. It's run by Australian Department of CSIRO. And they look at how to reduce that cooling. So they use groundwater. They pull up groundwater, and they use it to cool the chiller, as a form of indirect cooling through exchange for the chillers, for the cool chill water. And then what they do, which I'm not quite sure, so whether I agree with them or not, but with the warm water, they put it back to the ground. But in Taiwan, in Japan, you get these hot springs, right? I don't know how that's going to affect the ecosystem, but that's to be studied. But there's another usage of this warm water, which was in Amsterdam. So they use the warm water, and they use it to water the plants in greenhouses, which, instead of having maybe... So they were able to, I think it was 10 times. So, what was it? 10 times. So instead of every year you have your fruit, you can have you can harvest 10 times in a year. So I don't know, but I think that's worth looking at as well. We've only got 1 minute, so I'll stop there. Thank you.
It's okay if you want to continue. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The other one, which I think is a good product, is called pure lead batteries. Pure lead, they occupy a smaller footprint, so the same space as lithium-ion batteries. So the temperature to keep the batteries in is 30 degrees instead of 25, the VRLAs. Because nowadays, because of all the fires that happen, people are moving, data center operators are moving away from lithium-ion. Sorry, I think you mentioned lithium-ion already. But not only that, so the requirement to keep it cool is not as stringent. So 30 degrees is acceptable. We can bring up the water temperature to make it more efficient. Not only that, there's less fire risk. So all you need to do is the normal FM200 fire suppression, and also acid hydrogen sensors and then ventilation to extract the air, the poisonous air out. The life for them is 10 years, and it's fully recyclable. So recycling is actually quite easy. Not like, for example, solar panels. It costs $20 to recycle it, and in the end, the end product that you get was only $4. It doesn't make economic sense to recycle solar panels, nor batteries in EV, because at the moment you do need government support to recycle those. Whereas pure lead, I think it's a good direction. Yeah, I won't take up more time.
All right, thank you คุณศักดาค่ะ
Okay, if we talk about the technology that really exciting me, right? Basically, from Delta point of view, we are work very close to those. I mean, like hyperscaler or the cloud provider in the stage. And my R&D team in Taiwan come to me and say, "Oh, Sakda, I can make one of the cooling product that can reach PUE of 1.03, and the size of the ice cream cube, can squeeze like 100 kilowatt into this size." I say, "Wow." Yeah, that's immersion cooling where we think about them. We work a lot on this liquid cooling now in Delta side, like those direct to chip or even this immersion cooling. But in practical, I still see when I keep asking the question to my R&D guy, like, how I can maintenance this cooling, the ice cream cube, how to change the liquid, or what is the maintenance cost or those things, right? So I think that's still a factor that we need to have more study to adapt into the reality, right? It doesn't mean the technology is really exciting, but you cannot use in the real operation. So if we put more emphasis on how these kind of new technology to be used or to be operated, and what should be the operating costs, or even the reliability of this kind of new technology, that could be also help to quicker adapt. I even think about inside our team, why don't we just take this kind of new technology to do, rather than just do implementation, but we also look at the operational point of view, and then maintenances or those kind of things to see a long term of this kind of new product. But that's really exciting, because people talk about AI, people talk about those chat GPT, right, where the power density or the consumption is huge, where like one cabinet or one rack it jumped to like 40 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt, or somebody talk about 100 kilowatt per one rack, or those things where the fan cooling or those aircon, traditional aircon, we cannot make the heat reduction from that kind of particular power density. So these liquid cooling come to close to us, but AI come and the new technology come, how we make it more reliable or can foresee what is the reliability in long term and cost of operation, all those things. Yeah, that could be from my point.
Thank you very much. So now we take questions from the floor, if you have any. Okay. So what is the requirement in terms of sustainability from global hyperscale data center customer? Which aspect is the most challenging to adapt? Yeah, Kunsada, just now you talk about hyperscale data center, right? But anyone can answer this. What is the requirement in terms of sustainability from global hyperscale data center customer? Yeah.
Okay, I'll answer that. Yeah, we do projects who the end client will be hyperscalers, and I think something that they're doing, which is really good, is that I think it was mentioned already that the data hall temperature doesn't need to be 21 degrees, right? Because most of the IT servers and equipments nowadays are able to operate above 30 degrees. So 26, 27 data hall temperature is, I think they're responsibly looking at and implementing and saving electricity, like I think you mentioned 4 to 5%. Yeah, so that's really good. Challenges for them would be to fight off like them operating data centers. For them, I think they're doing a good thing. For example, Microsoft talking about like responsibly in not only operating but in building as well. So they have spent effort and manpower in looking into how to solve the issues, but still, like from the audience, from the people, from the government, they're still getting like all the unfair criticisms. So I think that to them, I think right now, although they've done their best, they already also solving many problems for the users, but they're still getting blamed. And I think I agree with Edward is that people need to be educated on how to use data responsibly, and not just to go to Google search and go, oh, what should I wear today? You know, things like that, because it does cost electricity to answer your question too.
Okay, yeah, Edward.
Yeah, I think that the hyperscalers are placed in a little bit of a bad light, and I think not justified. I think we don't forget that there are so many enterprise data centers that are legacy data centers running really horrible PUEs and having old equipment that they want to keep alive. And actually, the more enterprise data centers are moving towards the hyperscalers, which by nature, newer facilities optimized in the best possible way at the time that they build it, etc. So everybody's placing this big hoo-ha over the hyperscalers, but I think they are the ones that actually are the best optimized. We should not forget, put some attention on the enterprise data centers and give them a certain target. And if they don't meet that target, they need to move. And in Indonesia, you see that a little bit, that the government has embarked on a national data center program where they said, if your data center doesn't meet a certain level of requirements, energy efficiency, reliability, etc., either you upscale or you move it into the national data center. And I think that is what we need to put more attention on. The enterprise data centers that nobody talks about, that's where the biggest and the worst data centers are. The hyperscalers are typically in a very optimum state already.
I think there's also there's a design aspect to this. A lot of the hyperscalers they have a build-to-suit requirement. So an operator, a data center builder, will go out and build to suit for a particular hyperscaler, and there's a real example of this which has happened recently in Malaysia. The hyperscaler then pulls out of the deal and says, you know what, I've changed my mind, I don't want the facility. And the builder has designed that facility around the hyperscaler's requirement. So then it's back to the drawing board, ripping everything out, redesigning it, and then rebuilding it. And obviously that's not that sustainable. So difficult to have uniform design across all of our hyperscale friends because they all have different ways of doing things. But I think that's another aspect of what needs to be considered.
Thank you. Yes, Kun Sakda.
From my experience, I got one of the requirements from the hyperscaler where would like to have a pretty low PUE at like 1.3. So we work with the designer to have like raise the water temperature, etc., etc. However, this hyperscaler, they just rent out some space in that colocation, They also the other area in the same data center where this operator need to support the other tenant, but the cooling requirement is different. So they can adjust the cooling requirement down to a level for the other one in the same area. So they just optimize for the hyperscaler, and then they can't sell the other space for the other customer. So that kind of also a challenge that can we have the same requirement or the common design platform that can serve both hyperscaler and those enterprise. Some enterprise, they might rent the space into this co-location as well, so that they can have the common platform. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more question? Any more question? No. Okay. All right. So thank you for this question about hyperscale customer. Then, so can I please ask for a round of applause to all of our speakers here? Thank you very much. Thank you. So we'll take a photo together. May I ask also Mr. Jackie Chang to please come up and present the speakers with token of appreciations. May I also ask our panelists from the first session to please come up on stage as well. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. And on behalf of Delta Electronics Thailand, I'd like to thank you once again, everyone, for joining our 5th Delta Future Industry Summit today. Just one more thing for you to do. Can you please be so kind as to complete the attendee survey form so that the next year, we'll be able to create a better experience for you, okay? So please do our survey form here. As for lunch, okay? You need to get your coupon at the registration desk. For the media, your lunch will be at the F floor. F floor. For everyone else, for our guests, please go to the 5th floor for your lunch. But you need your coupon first, okay? So go get your coupon at the registration desk. And then 5th floor or F floor for the media. Once again, thank you very much for joining today, and thank you very much for your kind attention.